Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while. Sorry, I just landed a few days ago, so I still am jet lag. I woke up 4 in the morning, so I look like hell. I know. First of all, let me just say thank you for all those who are following me on Substack and in other mediums. From I thank you for that. I love the fact that you're enjoying and making comments. And for the new audience, please subscribe and let me know what you think. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about the war of economic attrition, and we are where that we said we would be today, right? Oil going over $110 this morning, and so it may go back, but nonetheless. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to concentrate on that. We are going to concentrate on the Hezbollah Israeli war. We're going to look at the consequences of the military war in Israel and its economic. So I'm going to start with military and then I'm going to go with economic because for the Israelis, it's much worse than you think. And I think that is why the Israelis have put a block and everything comes in. So what happened, we know as of yesterday, last night, the Israeli decided to go in because Hezbollah was heading back. The same Hezbollah, that was nothing, that was degraded, that virtually no missiles. Well, they're kicking ass now. So what did Israel do? They went in. But what Israel didn't understand is by going into Lebanon, they are not just fighting Hezbollah, but they're fighting Iran, who yesterday came up and said Hezbollah and Iran are going to let Israel have it in Lebanon. But they're also fighting Sunni groups and other groups who were against Hezbollah before. But now what they see is that the nation is at stake and their government is not doing anything. And by that, I mean, if you see the traditional Western media, they will show you that, oh, everybody's against Hezbollah, everybody's blaming Hezbollah. Some are, but many are also angry at their government because they're not using their military. For 1 year, they have been bombed, and the Lebanese government has refused to do anything. So these groups now are fighting. So as Israeli soldiers go into Lebanon, they are meeting fierce response from the Iranians, from Hezbollah, from the Sunni groups, not just from air, but also from land. And pictures are showing up. It's the grinding meat, right? And from a Hezbollah perspective, is payback time. They are going to make them pay. So militarily, Israel finds itself here. And also in terms of air, it's in massive crisis because the Israelis cannot get supplies, whether it's military supplies, whether it's food, whether it's oil to a point. They are being choked on every level, which was part of the Iranians and their allies' strategy, the Chinese, Iranian, Russian alliance strategy, to chokehold Israel from every way. And that is happening now. Because to understand that, you have to see how Israel gets its goods. Well, by land is the Jordanian land bridge, it's its biggest ways. Well, they're not getting that because, as we said before, the Jordanian tribes have blocked anything that goes to Israel or to the camp, right? American base. The Hawitas, the Bani Hassan, all the tribes are standing there. They were also watching if, by the way, if any of the American planes are landing in Jordan, right? So perhaps, if the TAT system is showing up, they're letting their people know. The desert people are watching from the ground from the desert to see if anything is going through, and they're letting the Iranians and the others know where they are. So the point being, ladies and gentlemen, is that the goods are not coming through. Then the other port was coming through the Red Sea. Well, the problem with that is that it's just not coming through. The Houthis have made it very clear that they're not allowing anything to come through. So you are not coming through that. As a matter of fact, the ports are pretty much quiet. And the Israelis need those ports to get through. But for the Israelis, there's also goods coming from Europe, right? The problem with that, however, is also that many of the ports, whether it's in Greece, whether it's in France, like Marseille, they are not allowing any goods to go to Israel. They are protesting, they're blocking it, they're just not showing up. And so it's such a desperate situation that the Israelis had to literally try to alter their information, trying to change the name of the ships, try to change the flags to say there's someone else because they know nothing is going to come through. Has it been working? It depends. I think it has been partially successful at best because they know it's the Israelis. So now you have not coming through the sea, not coming through the land. That only leaves the air. And the air is extremely expensive. You can't ship oil from the air. You can't just ship food from the air. And so that has had massive, massive repercussions, not just militarily, ladies and gentlemen, but also economically, right? Look what happened. Oil has gone up. We decided to hit Iran's base, and the Iranians are just letting it have it. Boom, 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 boom. Look what a damage they did to uh, the Gulf bases yesterday. They're showing no mercy, no mercy at all. And so you have oil prices going significantly high. Now, there are those in the West as well. US doesn't need it as its own oil. What people don't understand is that, first of all, the type of quality oil we have, we still need foreign oil for transportation. On top of that, we're still part of the market, international market. And if you are sitting in Asia or if you're sitting in Middle East, or I should say Africa, you can't get your oil or gas from United States. So it has massive repercussions worldwide, but for the United States particular and for Israel as well. So Israel, ladies and gentlemen, contrary to what you see, it's not winning per se. Yes, you took out the head of Iranian, some leadership parts of it, but they're still there and they're fascinating and strongly responding. So it's trapped from the sea because it really can't get supplies. It can't get supplies from the aid. And more importantly, it finds itself now in a ground war, which the Iranians and and its allies wanted all the time. And so for Israel, these are very, very difficult, challenging times. I'm not sure how it's going to go for them if you're not getting supplies. If you're not getting supplies, how are you going to fight? Yes, they still have missiles, but it would behoove to all to remember that those missiles now are running out significantly, and that what Iranians and their allies are doing, the Houthis and the Hezbollah, are hitting so many missiles, just as attrition, that Israel has to choose 2 to 1 just to make sure they get through. But they're desperate enough all the time, they're not doing two, they're only using 1.5. And so that was apparent when they hit Tel Aviv massively, when they were hitting the borders massively. So Israel finds itself surrounded economically, militarily, politically, it's despised worldwide because it has become clear, or that's the impression, that the United States went to this war because of Israel, and the ones who are only supporting this war are the Zionists or the new conservatives in this country. And so it has fed that image as well. So if you're losing politically, actually, I've already lost political. And that was part of it because of the 2 year war in Gaza. If you're economically, you're being damaged because of high oil prices, and now militarily you're running out of supplies, you have a problem. Where is Israel going to go? It's its decision, but the reality becomes you could hit the capital 5 times. You could pretend, you're going to destroy the cultural centers of Iran. But when you destroy cultural centers, right? When you kill children on purpose, you're not just losing the war politically, you will lose all compassion when it comes for the other side to respond back to you. And so I think for all those who said Israel is winning, I need you to pull back, go beyond the traditional Western press, and look what's happening in the ports. Are Israelis getting their goods coming from the ports? Are the protests in Europe in the docks, which they're not allowing Israel to get goods, are they being effective? Yes, right? Are the Israelis finding themselves in a meat grinding situation? And the answer is yes. And so these are very challenging times ahead for the Israelis, certainly for the international community, for the region. So, let me know what you think. Make a comment, and I will be glad to respond back to you. Have a nice day.